I'm an intuitive tarot reader. At a party, my husband's female colleague begged me for a love reading, but my husband panicked. You and your nonsense will scare her to tears. But it was too late. The tarot cards were already on the table, flipped over by his colleague. I looked at the spread and interpreted it truthfully. This man is very handsome, a senior executive at his company, but he's already married. Her eyes drifted towards my husband. So, is there a future for us? In that instant, my husband held his breath. I deliberately curved my lips into a smile. There will be no future. If you force it, you'll die a horrible death. The once pleasant weekend gathering suddenly reeked of gunpowder. The men at the table turned to me as if I were a fire extinguisher, desperate for me to spit out some comforting words. What's this about dying? How could you scare our team's mascot like this? Sis, that's not right of you. Everyone knows tarot doesn't predict life and death. Hurry up and say something good to make up for it. I ignored them. I picked up my chopsticks and served myself a piece of stewed beef, cooked until it was fragrant, tender, and falling off the bone. Today was my 3rd wedding anniversary with Dominic Roth. This entire meal, this pot of slow-cooked stew, was something I had been preparing since 1 in the afternoon. Even the broth had been simmering for 3 hours prior. A week ago, he had promised me he would clear his schedule to spend our anniversary together. I waited for him to come home, my heart filled with joyful anticipation. The door opened. He brought his entire project team home with him, a noisy, boisterous crowd. Our promised anniversary had turned into his team celebration party. Seeing that I had no intention of speaking, his colleagues turned to Dominic for help. Boss, you can't cover for her this time. You have to take a shot on her behalf. I glanced at Dominic. From the corner of his usually composed eyes, he shot an unnatural look towards the corner, where the poor little thing was crying her eyes out. When he finally pulled his gaze back to me, he had resumed his usual rational, detached demeanor. Tarot is just a Western method of predicting weather using astrology. It's nowhere near as accurate as our traditional methods. Besides, once you speak a destiny out loud, you break the spell. It won't come true. Although Coralie is my wife, I have always been objective and fair. In this matter, Coralie was indeed in the wrong. I will take a shot on her behalf as an apology to you. Dominic, who suffered from a stomach ulcer, had been off alcohol for 6 months on my strict orders. But the moment he saw Cassidy Holt's reddened eyes, he gripped the glass and downed the liquor without a moment's hesitation. As the alcohol went down his throat, the chill in my heart deepened. This meal was clearly no longer worth continuing. Boo. T. Cassidy's tears only seemed to multiply. How could I possibly blame Cora? I've heard she used to be a famous tarot streamer. She must be accurate. She sobbed, lifting her tear-streaked eyes to look at Dominic, as if she had made some painful, profound decision. I'll listen to Cora. I'll make a clean break with this man, I promise. After the party ended, the table of leftovers looked just like our forgotten anniversary. Dominic, who usually cleared the table, suddenly changed his habit. He walked over to me, his tone still excessively rational. I know today is our anniversary. If you deliberately targeted the most vulnerable person on my team simply because I broke our plans, then any apology or guilt I felt towards you has now been completely nullified. With that, he lit a cigarette and went out to the deck, smoking one after another. Through the glass door, I saw the message he sent. She's not accurate. You don't have to listen to her. I watched him, for a long time, so long that I drifted off. That face of his. I had planned on loving it for a lifetime. I was abandoned by my birth mother the day I was born. My adoptive parents, who took me in, raised me until I was 5, then abandoned me when they had their own child. The traffickers who abducted me were busted by the police 2 months later. I was eventually taken in by a kind-hearted couple, but the old, blind fortune teller they consulted said, "This child's fate is too hard. You won't be able to handle her." They didn't believe in superstitions and adopted me anyway. Within 6 months, they divorced, and I was homeless again. I drifted, half dead, until I was 12. That's when I set my sights on a traveling tarot reader who was incredibly accurate and looked like his fate was even harder than mine. His name was Nathaniel Grove. To get him to take me in, I deliberately occupied another beggar's turf and was nearly beaten to death in a deserted alley. I.G.O.T. my wish. He rescued me, but he also rejected me again. It doesn't matter if you call me big brother, uncle, or even dad. I can't keep you forever. I'm only 6 years older than you. I can barely support myself. Despite his words, I knew he was kind. Even his rejections were clumsy. I'm warning you, I'm destined to be alone. Otherwise, I wouldn't be a drifter. If you insist on following me, then I'll teach you tarot. Once you have a skill, you can leave and make your own way. Nathaniel, who always called himself a short-lived, lonely soul, became my family, and we lived together in peace. I inherited his craft, reading tarot for people everywhere. Because I was accurate, I helped many young women avoid pitfalls and even predicted the direction where they would find their true love. Eventually, his words came true. I developed the ability to stand on my own. During the peak of live streaming, I built a stable client base by giving online readings. On my 18th birthday, I bought the expensive cut of beef we never could afford and returned to the small house we had purchased together with our savings. Even now, a decade later, I can still remember my heart pounding as the early summer sunset painted the sky red, rehearsing how I would confess my feelings to him. But when I opened the door, all I found was a note he had left behind. Our connection has run its course. We will not meet again in this life, but I will always protect you. In that moment, I knew I was ruined. My life was like that bag of beef that would never be eaten by my beloved. It would only rot and stink with the passing of time. I searched for him frantically for 2 years. The tarot cards told me he was gone, even revealing the location of his grave, but I refused to believe he was dead. I kept searching while living a bohemian life in Santa Fe, New Mexico, until one day, while reading tarot at a stall in the old town, I saw a man whose Fidu res were 99% identical to Nathaniel's. My heart seized. I stared at him, feeling as if I had traveled back in time and was seeing Nathaniel again. "Hi, are you a tarot reader? Can you do a reading for me?" He crouched down, his eyes sincere, just like I had been when I first asked Nathaniel. "Hey, tarot reader, do a reading for me, will you?" Time seemed to fold in on itself. I couldn't tell if the man before me was a figment of my imagination or if my memory was failing me. How could two people in this world look so exactly alike? We chatted for a bit. He said his name was Dominic, and he wanted me to help him find out when a benefactor would appear in his life. So, I had him draw a few tarot cards. He drew the Magician, the Six of Cups, the Sun, and the Tower. The moment I saw the spread, the message was clear. I told him the truth. You will have a female benefactor who will help you. Once you are with her, your career and relationships will take a dramatic turn for the better. But with the Tower card present, it means you will have no power to protect yourself from her. I have an intuitive connection with the cards. I even got a vague impression of this female benefactor. This woman is very mysterious. Her work is related to Western metaphysics, but I can't see her true feelings for you. The cards say nothing. Dominic knelt before my stall, a flash of shock in his eyes. The only woman I know who's into Western metaphysics is you. From the moment I met Dominic, I suspected he might be the one Nathaniel had sent to protect me. After all, even their names sounded similar. My favorite thing to make for him was slow-cooked stew. Especially on early summer evenings, stained red by the sunset, I would serve him a bowl of stew and listen to him respond to me, over and over. "Cora, I love you the most. I will love you forever." Then, utterly content, I would walk over, hold him, and kiss his eyes, his jaw, his lips. I almost convinced myself that he wasn't just sent by Nathaniel. He might actually be Nathaniel. Later, we had a child. I cherished him dearly. I believed this child would be my only solace for the rest of my life. Not long after the disastrous party, I received a call from the daycare center. The teacher's tone was hesitant. After I assured her several times that I wouldn't blame her no matter what, she finally stammered out the words. "Nathan was slapped in the face by his father today, in front of everyone. We have surveillance cameras in the classroom." Our teachers tried to intervene, but his father was too strong. Nathan's face was hit, and he was also kicked in the stomach. Blood rushed from my feet to my head. I resisted the urge to immediately call and confront Dominic. Instead, I asked the daycare for the surveillance footage. 5 minutes later, I opened the video file. In the frame, I saw the same female colleague who had asked for a tarot reading at our house. She walked over to my son with a cheerful smile, trying to take his hand. But my son was hostile towards her. "You have a stinky smell. You're dangerous, a bad person. I want my mommy. Mommy promised to pick me up and take me for a treat today." "Oh, a little mama's boy, are we? Your dad and I can take you for a treat too." Cassidy tried to pick him up without his consent. My son resisted fiercely, and when dodging failed, he gave her a light push. To my shock, the 5'4" Cassidy was sent tumbling to the ground by my son's small hand. She buried her face in her hands and burst into tears. "I'm sorry. I was being too presumptuous. I won't bother you anymore." Dominic's rage was instantaneous. He shielded Cassidy with his body and kicked our son viciously. "Apologize to Auntie Cass. If you don't, I don't want you anymore." Our son's cries attracted the teachers. Nathan, whom I had always taught that boys don't cry easily, SCR, aimed at Dominic with a mixture of hurt and defiance. "I did nothing wrong. She is a bad person. If you're with her, you'll die. You smell like her. You kissed and hugged her. You betrayed mommy." How would a 5-year-old know the word betrayal? As the teacher stood stunned by his outburst, Dominic asserted his paternal authority and slapped him hard across the face. "Is this what your mother teaches you? Have you no manners at all?" I had to bite down hard on my lip to get through the rest of the video. This was a debt that had to be repaid. That evening, I brought my son home from the hospital. When I opened the door, I found Cassidy hiding behind Dominic, apologizing to me. "Cora, please don't be angry. Dom thinks of me as a sister. He was just worried and acted impulsively. He didn't mean to hit the child. Why don't you slap me instead? After all, this was all my fault." She had gotten what she wanted and was now trying to provoke me further. I smiled at her sweetly. "Okay, then." I swung my arm in a wide arc and slapped her hard across the face. 5 red, swollen finger marks instantly appeared on her left cheek. She stood there in shock for a full 10 seconds before reacting, her hand hovering over the injury. "Cora, it's my fault. I made your son misunderstand my relationship with Dom. I can quit my job. I'll stay away from him from now on." Dominic's arm shot up in fury. His heavy fist grazed past my face and slammed into the door with a dull thud. "You are not quitting. She hit you. Why should you be the one to apologize? She's the one who should be sorry." I looked at the fist that had struck the door, the coldness inside me growing even deeper. "Then how are you going to settle the score for hitting my son for her sake?" Dominic looked at my increasingly icy expression and gritted his teeth, protectively shielding Cassidy behind him. Our son was spouting nonsense in front of so many PLE. "You're his mother. Aren't you going to discipline him? Was I wrong to do it? Cassidy came here with a fruit basket to apologize, and this is how you treat her." I laughed, a laugh born of sheer frustration. I had been deceiving myself for too long. How could he possibly be my Nathaniel? He wasn't worthy. His lecture continued, but I had lost all patience. I shouldn't have held out hope. "You're not Nathaniel at all. Let's get a divorce." Dominic's expression froze, his face turning ugly. "Nathaniel? Who is he?" Dominic wanted to sleep in a separate room. He slammed the bedroom door with a thunderous crash. Our son, Nathan, who was playing with blocks in the study, was dragged out, toys and all, by a furious Dominic. "Get out. I don't want to see you today." After locking himself in the study for a few minutes, he suddenly grabbed his phone and rushed to leave. "I have a team meeting to attend. I might not be back tonight." He gave me a perfunctory explanation. I nodded with equal pretense. "Fine, but leave the car keys. I need them tomorrow." Dominic angrily tossed the keys on the counter and opened a ride-sharing app. Nathan, who had been quiet, suddenly grew agitated. "Daddy, I can smell that lady's scent on you. You're going to see her, aren't you?" Dominic stopped in his tracks and turned to scold him. "Little kids who talk nonsense get their tongues cut out. If you say another word, I won't forgive you." Nathan looked at his father, wanting to say more but clearly afraid. I sensed something was wrong and immediately pulled him into my arms. "What is it? Tell mommy," Nathan whispered urgently. "That lady's smell is very bad. Daddy can't go see her." Dominic glanced at his phone. The car had arrived downstairs. He snapped at our son impatiently. "It's all your mother's fault. Look what she's turned you into." The door slammed shut, and Dominic stormed away, listening to his fading footsteps. Our son gave up. He looked at me with a strange expression. "Mommy, if Daddy dies, will you be sad?"